funky or disco house, minimal or melodic techno. There are hundreds of genres and subgenres in dance music. It can be hard to know where to start tagging your tracks, especially if you're a new DJ, but being able to identify genres is an essential first step on your DJ journey. And if you can't do it, your DJ library is never going to get off the starting line. In this video, I'm going to give you easy ways to identify the genre of tracks so you can tag them properly, show you powerful techniques you can use to develop your genre intuition to save time, help you break down the psychology of any genre, and tell you the big secret that will change the way you think about your music. If I have dinner at an Italian restaurant, I know roughly what I'm going to get: pasta, pizza, or plumbers. Likewise, if I go for some American cuisine, I'm likely to get a hamburger and type 2 diabetes. In the same way, genres are a useful way of grouping music. They let you know if you're going to get a curry or tapas, but you won't necessarily know the exact dish. Sorting tracks into genres helps you find them easily later on, but this is harder than it might seem. There's been a crime. It was a Friday night, and DJ Flapjack was playing at a drum and bass night in central London.
So yeah, we were raving to a tapo badadam Mr. Happy Triple, who was sick. But then Flapjack dropped this track, and it was like 128 BPM, and was like doosh, 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 doosh. People went mental, not in a good way. We were there for a drum and bass night, not whatever that was. Everyone completely trashed the place, and someone did a poo on top of the subwoofer.
Detective Disco Thump has just joined the police force. He's been called to the crime scene. After looking at the scene, the detective comes up with a track as a key suspect. But in order to convict it, the detective needs to work out its genre. Unfortunately, Detective Disco Thump is a rookie and has got very little training, so he has to start his investigation by consulting some experts. He goes and knocks on the door of websites that sell dance music: Beatport, Tracksource, Juno, and others. The detective types the track name of his key suspect in and takes note of what genre the experts have tagged it as. If 2 or more experts agree on the genre, it's probably safe to make the arrest. But it's not uncommon for experts to have different views on what genre the track is. There can be a few reasons for this. Their editors made different decisions, the websites have different classifications or naming for the same genres, or the track could just fit in more than one genre. The experts are telling the detective different things. He needs some more evidence. He calls forensics. Chaotic is a website that can help identify the genres of tracks. Simply type in the track name and it'll pull in the genre tags that Spotify uses. The detective has now got evidence from experts and forensics. It's his job to triangulate these sources and come up with a suggestion on how to tag the genre in a DJ library. But doing this for every suspect takes the detective too much time. It doesn't leave him enough time to solve other crimes. To speed things up, he needs to start developing the next set of detective skills: intuition. The key genre suspect in this investigation is tech house, but there isn't quite enough evidence to prove it conclusively just yet. The best way to get faster at recognizing a genre is to fully immerse yourself in it. The detective needs to understand who it hangs around with, what clothes it wears, who its bosses are, and what makes it tick. He heads over to one of the experts and finds their charts for the genre under suspicion, tech house. He spends 5 minutes a day listening to the tracks on here in between his other work. After a few days, he starts noticing similarities between the tracks he's listening to. There's similar percussion, use of vocals, type of beat, and the energy level is about the same. As well as doing this, the detective also wants to interview some key witnesses. Spotify was over the street paying a busker 0.0000001 cent when the crime went down, so it might have seen something. There are 2 ways to use Spotify to turbocharge an investigation. The detective searches for a track he's identified as tech house in the past. He right-clicks and chooses Song Radio. This generates a playlist of similar tracks, more often than not from the same genre. He also searches for tech house and then dives into some playlists or albums. Within a few days, Disco Thump starts to recognize a genre based on similar crimes. This is a really useful long-term habit for DJs as well. By continuously exposing ourselves to a certain genre, we can see how it changes over time. That stops us getting caught out if a certain crime is committed a few years apart. But the best genre detectives also understand the perp's motivation, relationships, and history. We need to get into its mind. Genres are not static. They get influenced by other genres, what's popular in a particular region, new artists bringing new sounds, or any number of other external factors. For new genre detectives, this can make things tricky. Genres and subgenres can blend together, making it hard to properly identify your suspects. To level up his skills again, the detective needs to start using psychological profiling on his suspect, understanding the things that make tech house what it is. In essence, it's childhood. Its first stop is a website called Ishka's Guide to Electronic Music. It's basically a big flowchart of the history of dance music. It's got examples of every genre you can listen to from different time periods all the way up to 2020. This helps the detective because these influences often crop up time and time again. People often repeat old behaviours, and that's no different for genres. Drum and bass recently went through a bit of a fall to the floor moment, which could be baffling to a new detective, but not if you understand its history. Following the chart back up, we can see it's got common roots with techno, but to really get under the skin of a genre, the detective needs to learn where it came from the people that were there at the start. Luckily, there's a website which is literally like a dance music museum. It's called YouTube and has loads of great documentaries about the history of any genre you can think of. DJ Mag has also got a brilliant series where they interview artists about popular dance anthems. It's an amazing insight as to what was happening in those particular eras, the equipment and therefore sounds artists were using, and what social and musical influences went into the tracks. I put some links to some of my favourites in the description. The detective now has a really rounded picture of his suspect and he's pretty sure Tech House did it. But as genre detectives, all we can do is gather the evidence, because the big secret is there's no way to know for sure. It's a judgment call that will probably get a bit better with experience. And it kind of doesn't matter if we get it wrong, because only caring about genre is actually a terrible way to think about your music. In this video, I show you other more powerful and flexible ways of tagging your music so you can level up your library faster than 99% of beginners. But what happened to Tech House? The jury found it guilty of ruining the set and sentenced it to 10 years in a cell with the most notorious set killer of all time, Deep House.